So welcome to another board game Blitz today. We are playing, we just played Conan. Most people play this for the first time. We had 5 players today, Josh, Tim, and Matt. This was their first play. This is made by Monolith Editions, a French company, and this was one of the largest Kickstarters ever, I think, and now it's been surpassed by Kingdom Death Monster and
a lot.
Cool Mini or
Any
Not.
Cool Mini or Not.
40 other Kickstarters.
Every one of which Tim backed.
Yes,
No,
he did.
I did not.
And I didn't get this one on Kickstarter. I got it aftermarket, actually, from Card House. So we'll go ahead. I'm sorry. It's Matt, Tim, Alexander, and then Josh was our 5th player, but he had to go home. So if you don't know much about Conan, Conan is a tactical miniatures game where you have different scenarios. One person plays what is called the Overlord. The Overlord uses the Book of Skelos, which you can see on the south side of the room by Alexander, where you can control your minions to take actions to foil the efforts of the heroes to win or succeed at their mission. The heroes then have individual characters, Conan, Hadrathis, Shavatis, etc. They have certain abilities, skills. Their goal is to kill the minions, reach the objective of the scenario, and then get out or do something so that they can win. So once again, tactical miniatures game. That is one of the things I really like about it is the tactical miniatures. But let's hear from Alexander first. What are your thoughts on the game?
Well, like you said, miniatures are fantastic. I'm a miniatures kind of person. I've painted the heroes in this game.
Yeah.
The
Thank you, by the way.
The miniatures are very high quality. They're good plastic. The sculpts are great. And I love tabletop miniature types games. So this one is very fun. It's very lightweight.
It is.
It's hack and slash,
Right.
And that's awesome. You don't get too into the nitty gritty, like, oh, I'm trying to, there's an aspect to that, but like the spaces are big, it's not tiny squares, and you just run around and smash things, and it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to do. It's very.
We literally smashed through walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did, right?
It's very, very fun, and that's awesome.
One of your comments, I did want to, there are certain rules that are more tactical, like line of sight is used, hindrance, or kind of like a zone of control. When you move through spaces where there are guys, you have to pay that movement cost, although they do not prevent you from moving unless they have an ability. So there are some traditional tactical elements that are included. It's not just hack and slash, but 85% of it is hack and slash. So what did you like, Tim?
This is really not one of my type of style of games. I'll admit that. But I do occasionally like to play these types of games. And this one was really, really fun to play. I really enjoyed playing it. A lot of different choices. I think my favorite thing about the game is the health and how you manage your health. And you have active health that you can use, and then it goes to your fatigue. And if you get hurt, then your fatigue goes to your death wounds. And you can't use those again for the rest of the game. So I really like how that manages itself.
It's a resource management thing.
It is. And you have to decide, is it really worth taking this wound and not spending more actions to defend yourself, or should I go ahead and defend myself using an action which limits me on my future turns?
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed that. I thought all the action that was portrayed was very thematic. Going in huts, finding extra loot, finding out what bad guys are in there. I really, really enjoyed that also. I'm interested. How many scenarios come in the game?
I think that the manual has, I want to say 10.
So that's a good number.
Yeah, and they're for different player ranges.
Right.
Usually they're printed as, they'll say 2, 3, 4, or 5, but almost always there's an option at the bottom that says, if you want to add another player, do this.
Yeah.
Or here's the hero you should use.
Gotcha.
Because they're trying to make it balanced, and if you use certain heroes in certain scenarios where they're not designed for that, that would kind of imbalance the game.
Gotcha. And our scenario was the typical save the princess, and so I would like to see other scenarios and see how they play differently and how they are just different. I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Matt?
I like being Conan.
Yeah.
I thought the attributes of
the
character-
barbarian, right?
the
Not
attributes
the
of the-
status or tactician
Brian, Brian.
or brainiac.
But the attributes of the character were spot on. He's a fighter, really hard to kill, can't move that well, doesn't have any magic tricks, just has big weapons and shields and stuff. So I thought it was very reflective of how you all think about Conan. So really, Grant's mission with Conan was to keep him out of the fight,
Yeah.
which he was able to
Well,
do
when he's
in several
rolling
different scenarios.
5 red dice that can do pretty much a minimum of like 10 hits. As the overlord, you really want to keep him out of the battle.
But let me be the first on this video to say, more dice. Man, they've got to add more
Yeah.
dice to the
Yeah,
base
That's
game.
frustrating.
And they do for $6.95. You
Yeah.
can buy another pack
But the
of
base
dice.
game should
I think
come
there
with a
should be
little
6
Yeah.
of each color. So yeah, more dice, please.
Yeah, more dice. Well, I think there's 3 things that I really enjoy. I really enjoy being the overlord. It's a different experience. So this game is 95% co-op. You guys as the heroes are working together.
Well, mostly.
Mostly. Well, yeah. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But they're working together. I'm trying to stop them. So it's I either win or they win as a group. And I kind of like that. It's different. I feel like a dungeon master. In fact,
Yeah.
Alexander made the comment, I kept saying, well, I want to hide this information. He said, well, that's because you were a dungeon master. But I love the overlord, the use of the river and its resource management.
That's
You
really
have a
cool.
pool that is limited as well. You can do all kinds of things, activating units to attack, move, block, or you can try to protect yourself and make my units are pitiful, right? Some of the
Right.
guys you hit one time and it's like their brains explode all over
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Really
a lot
like
of
that. Really like that element. Miniatures are just ridiculously good. Very hard plastic, very well sculpted, high detail. If you look on the picked warriors, you can see like bones hanging off their clothing. That's a level of detail that I think is just absolutely fantastic. And it really makes this game and helps it become thematic. And I felt like I was really immersed.
Right.
But I also like the variety. Some of the missions are full on, let's assault the castle. Some are, let's sneak around and find this. One of my favorites is when you're in the tavern, which you guys haven't played. It's just kind of a mano-a-mano, one-on-one. Very fun. But I love the tactical element of this game. In fact, the reason I think I prevented you guys from winning is you literally came up, one
turn, one round.
one space. I think literally Zogar's head needed one more movement point to
Yeah.
get off the board.
Yeah.
And the way I prevented that was I used my recruit ability at the end of the 8th round or the 7th round to move in some guys that hindered the wizard
Movement.
from moving and having him use more gems so he couldn't move as far.
Yeah.
And to me, you're solving a puzzle. It's a tactical puzzle, and I enjoy that.
Yeah, there were 2 decisions at the end that kept it, keeping Conan where he was without
Right.
able to move was a big
Yeah,
one.
having this guy that prevented him from blocking, I
So
think is
in
what it's
round
called.
8, that was really important. But I do think, Alexander, you should tell your gambit.
Well, I tried to, because there was a part of the game where there was the big boss, and then there was a ton of just like plebs in there with him, and there was Conan and
A couple of allies in there with him also.
yeah, there was a couple of- and I had an
And
exploding
Shabbatus.
orb, it's basically a grenade. I just rolled it in there in the hopes that I would kill some of the lowly guys and free it up for them.
But what happened? I'm trying to remember what happened.
So I rolled poorly on the damage, so I spent more resources to up the damage of that and reroll those, and it ended up
Which hurt us more.
You did five damage.
just blew up in Conan's face.
Yeah.
And Conan and
I-
Shabbatus both felt it was really important to defend, so I used 4 gems, I think, to defend myself from my own.
I think that's the only way that I got wounds during the game.
It was
from my
it was.
allies.
Yep.
So that choice, while he was trying to do a bunch of damage, did basically wreck a whole round.
It backfired.
But it
Yeah.
was totally off.
But it was thematic.
fun.
It was fun. Yeah, and actually, I think we did a little role playing where he kind of screamed, "Where'd that grenade come from?" You know, something like that. But so, what did you think about the game that either you didn't like or felt could have been improved?
Not gonna sugarcoat it. The rule book is awful.
Yeah.
It's firstly it's translated and it's not translated very well, and it was written and I believe also translated by people who are very familiar with the game.
Right.
And that's an issue to me because there's a lot of assumptions that are made, or a lot of vaguities where people who have play tested and designed this game know exactly how the game should be played, but sometimes they have a hard time conveying those details. They're like, oh, just do an action. To them, they know exactly what that means. I just
Yeah.
want the rules to be a lot more explicit.
Yeah.
like a lot more explicit.
The rule book actually, they have good examples, but I think you're absolutely right. The rules themselves, just reading them face value, like on a web board game geek,
Yep.
very confusing. And in fact, I posted on that forum probably 5 times with different rules. Could have
But
been better.
this is a game where, as lighthearted as it is, it's not
Yeah.
too serious. You can house rule all this stuff, and it's still very fun.
Yeah.
As long as you agree on the rules.
And we did that, right? I
Yeah.
think we made a couple early simple mistakes, and we kind of just said from now on we'll do this, and it worked. It was fun.
Yeah.
We all had a good time.
Whatever's fun, whatever's cinematic.
I was actually rooting for you guys at the end. I'm like, come on, you can do this.
Keep it
You know,
close.
when it didn't get off the board, I was like, yes, quietly. So yeah, the rule book could have been.
not great.
Tim, what did you not like?
One of the things that I really wish was enhanced was the differences between the characters. I wish I had more control on how my character, who he was, how I wanted to use him. I had throwing knives that I never used the entire game because I was literally just stuck in one area, I felt. So I didn't really, and if I did use them, I don't know if they would
They're
be
not
that
great.
They're not that great.
They're okay.
So I wish I had a little bit more control on how differentiated my character was from other characters. Literally, the only thing that made me different than others is I had evade.
Yeah.
I could move
Yeah.
through monsters
A lot of freedom.
without spending any more
But that
actions
was
to do
probably
so.
the mechanic that annoyed me the most.
But I didn't even use it that
Well,
much.
you having it didn't annoy me. Me not being able to evade
Right.
was annoying.
Right.
Right.
So that one was.
So that was
aggravating.
definitely a huge difference between the
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
There were 2 times Grant moved me away from the action, and then one time he locked me in with the character.
Using
Right.
mind control a spell.
And just the
Kinda
little
fun.
things like Josh being a wizard of some sort, I feel like he should have gotten more action cubes during his resting stage than the rest of us because he's capable of gaining more actions back, right?
Mhm.
Whereas Conan, he might not be able to gain as much
He's
Right.
exhausted. Just
because he's exhausted, because he's just
Muscle bound
working
dunks.
out
Sweating
the whole
really
time.
hard.
So I think little stuff like that
posing, he's busy posing.
could have enhanced it a little bit more, just making us a little bit different in more areas.
Yeah.
So
Okay, Matt.
Well, that was my conversation with Tim, actually. That was the only mechanic that bugged me.
Okay.
I think that everything about how much you can carry and the action points, everything
was cool.
seemed pretty fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, once I lose control of my own character, that can be frustrating. And that's where you move me twice and you lock me into place a couple times. I know it's part of the game, but it's just frustrating not to be able to act.
Yeah, that is hard. And when I did it, I knew that you would be frustrated. But so I think that one of the things I don't like from the Overlord's point of view, some of the minions literally are really bad. When they're killed, they clog up your river. You have to use cubes to get, or your resources to get rid of them. I like that element thematically, but man, that makes it very, very hard. I also, the one thing overall about the entire project that I dislike is they have released expansions, and I bought 2 of those, Crossbowmen and the Witch Hunters of Kushite Witch Hunters. They still don't have printed scenarios from the company as they said they would. And that's something I've spent $50 on 2 boxes of extra miniatures that I can use them by using my mind and understanding the game,
that's not your job.
but they should tell me,
Yeah.
Right.
put this in this scenario.
Right.
So I would like to see more support from that. This Kickstarter's now been out for 6 months. Wasn't it October? I think when
Yeah.
it came out. It was funded in 15, came out in October. I bought this thing in December. I should have an understanding of how to use those scenarios yet,
I
but
didn't think so.
those are probably minor things. I think that's a little more major.
Yeah.
But overall, I think a fun game.
It's fun.
It was fun.
Yeah,
It's fun.
We laughed and had a good time
Yeah.
the entire time.
And I think that it took us a while. We played for
Yeah.
about 3 hours,
We could not see the princess through the hole in the hut.
which was hilarious.
We had to go in there to
Hilarious.
find her.
Well, she was covered by the rubble. She had been knocked unconscious. So very cool. I think this is a good game. I enjoyed playing it, and I'd want to play it again.
Absolutely. It's fun.
All right. Well, I think that's our comments on Conan. Thank you very much.
Cheers!
Ollie started freaking out.
Okay, it's kid.